since we do it every day. It's actually the perfect place to start because we get those kind of questions from business owners and decision makers a lot. When we start talking about social marketing, social community marketing, that question comes up, where do we spend our money? Do we spend it on Facebook? Well, hopefully before the time those questions have come up, you've already executed or you've already laid out your marketing plan and the strategies you want to accomplish. You've already done your target audience research and know what they like and what they don't like and that kind of thing. So it should be an easy question to answer about where do they live. Do they live on Instagram? Do they live on Snapchat, which a couple of our folks are here doing tonight, running snaps and Instagram stories. You just have to know where your target audience lives. And if your message is right, coming out of your marketing plan and your strategies, it really doesn't matter what platform you live on, because your message is going to be the same, whether it's on a billboard or doing a TV commercial or doing a radio commercial or tweeting or talking on Instagram or talking to your connections on LinkedIn. So when the next social community platform comes out, it doesn't matter. We're not tied to Snapchat. Heck, it was free. I downloaded it on my phone. We just do the same thing with the same message on the next platform that comes up. So message is primary. You have to have your message right first.
Keith, to piggyback on that, I love this question because, you know what, we've really changed dramatically over the years from being able to connect with one another face to face, right? And now, we're connecting with each other globally through a tablet or a PC or a screen. And so, I would challenge you that if you're going to connect, do it in a genuine way. Do it with images of maybe you or your staff and kind of show outwardly who you are and show and just make sure that it translates, because you'll see people post generic photos of whatever, and that's not real, So just be genuine and try to make that connection.
And I'm going to expand on that just a minute as well. Excuse me. And I'm going to tell a story on myself at the same time. If you're starting up a business or if you're trying to grow one and you don't take the time to find out, and I mean ask, what your users want, you're making a huge mistake. The field of user testing, it's completely different from what most people think. If you don't know what your prospects are looking for, you made a mistake. And we are very, very prejudiced, all of us. I have a tendency to be over academic and overly complex when I start to write things. And some years ago, working on a fairly sizable project with 2 other consultants, we just decided that we would review each other's work on our own websites. And one of them gave me a real comeuppance. She said, "You have done things to your own website that you wouldn't dare let one of your clients do." And she said, "You're overly academic and overly wordy." And I went, "Oh my God," I did. So we are, as business owners, we are much too close to the things that we do, and we miss things all the time. So I encourage you to go, if you're trying to get something going, seek out somebody like one of us up here and ask us a few questions. Maybe we'd be a fit, maybe we wouldn't, but at least you're starting to ask. So, but test it.
Yes. Since we're on the subject, and I appreciate it, Martin touched on it. I'm used to have face-to-face contact, and I'm young like you guys. So, was it a struggle for you to get on social media, being that you used to have face-to-face contact, and what would you recommend to those of us, maybe Gen Xers or baby boomers, who maybe don't see social media that quickly?
I think I'm right there.
I think
I'm right there with you. But no, it really wasn't a challenge, because I'm not an overly outright person, but I really don't have a problem, carrying on conversations, whether it's on social media or in person. And if you treat them the same, a platform is a platform. It doesn't matter what it is. And I think it helped too that I was in the advertising space. We talked about it earlier when the economy hit the bucket 7, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, whenever it was. In our world, we really had to make ourselves a little bit more widespread instead of specializing. So when we develop ad campaigns now, the platform means nothing to us, as in we're going to give television the same amount of priority, same level of priority as we are Facebook ads at the onset and figuring out what works. So we can't treat them differently. So carrying out the conversations and getting used to technology is just something you have to do. Now, one of the things, you may be able to speak to this in the IT world, one of the things you have to get in your mind is you can't worry about breaking anything. Download Instagram on your phone. If it breaks, who cares? Uninstall it and download it again. It doesn't matter. You know, be careful what you say when you're talking to people, but don't be afraid to get out there and jump in conversations. I think really we haven't talked about messaging in detail yet, but just be careful how you're doing those conversations on social media. You're not talking at people, you're talking with people. Even if you're starting the conversation, it still needs to be a conversation. So
treat it the same, just
exactly,
a little bit.
Exactly the same, just like you're talking to a person.
What is your name again?
My name is Dee.
Dee, I got your answer. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
So Keith is fortunate enough to have 2 social media people on his staff. In fact, they're right here in the room. Okay. So the simple answer is outsource it. If you're not comfortable with it, outsource it. You know what? It is incredible how, you know, there's so many companies out there that can do social media for you very inexpensively, right? And you just can feed them photos or whatever and just let them do it. And that's a great way to go.
Yes.
As an outsourcer, do you have any recommendations?
You know, I don't have a specific recommendation, but I can tell you.
Have a business card. Right?
There's and you know, I heard JASE is really great at it. They are really great. But you know what? There's a ton of opportunity out there. Just Google it, and you'll see an incredible host of different offerings.
I think really the right thing to do is track down folks that are doing it right. You track down folks even in your vertical or not in your vertical, in some other industry that are doing it right, and ask questions. You know, how are you doing this? What's going on behind the scenes? Or do you actually hire staff to do that, or are you hiring a vendor to take care of that for you that lives as part of your team? And just get in behind the scenes and figure out who it is and what other companies are doing. And if they're outsourcing it, then you figure out what fits in your budget and make that happen.
I have a question either for Keith or Chandler. Either both of you can answer or just one. I'm a storyteller by trade. I shoot commercials, and a lot of times you're trying to, when you build a website and you're trying to put X amount of things on your page to get a message across, so clients will come look at it and say, okay, cool, we want to hire him for whatever, you know, whatever you want to do. So do you have like a strategy to where you have a lot of things that you want to say, but you want to condense it in a short amount of time? You know, I know people only have maybe 10 to 15 seconds to go to my website and say, okay, I want to hire him, yes or no. And so I guess the problem I run into is kind of something that you said. Sometimes I'm too academic and I want to put, they got to see all this stuff. So it's me. But I've been told by other people it's way too much. You need to take all this stuff away and maybe just have it one page. And so is there like a strategy or anything that you use to kind of condense all of it? Does it make any sense at all?
Yeah, it absolutely is. Usually I tell people if they're going to write stuff themselves, write it out, then cut it by 50%, and then cut it by another 50%, and then maybe cut it by another 25%. One of the things that happens psychologically, it's one of the fields that I look at all the time, is how do people make decisions? We make decisions, everybody makes decisions in exactly the same pattern. Motivations are different. Patterns are the same. When somebody lands on anybody's website, they want to answer 3 questions. Where am I? What can I do here? And why should I do it? End of story. Now, obviously you can ask a lot more questions. And the why should I do it is the value proposition. But what happens when you make too many offers? There's been a boatload of research on this, especially on e-commerce sites. If you make too many offers on one page, the answer is no, I'm not making any choice at all. I've just been overwhelmed. And that's why I said, when you have the information you think you want to put on there, cut it in half again, and be extraordinarily succinct with it.
I think there are extremes on both sides. It depends on what industry you're in. There are some audiences that want to go do 100% of the research on the internet. And if you're in that type of vertical, you have to provide that information. Now, where you do it in your architecture and your online architecture is up to you, and how you build your click-throughs on your website. So, for example, trying to think of an industry that would need a lot of information. If you're selling screws and bolts, I don't know, in something industrial where specs are important and a lot of detailed information, usage items are important. You will want to get that information out there. So you build your architecture so that there are link downs to get to all of that information, but your top level, your home page, your top level links on your nav, and even your blog articles, there has to be blog articles there. They're short bursts of information, really. No more than 2 paragraphs, because like you said, the old joke, an internet user has the attention span of a gnat. So, they're only going to read so much. But if your industry or if your audience demands a lot of information, you have to find a place for it on your architecture. And it could be that your call to actions on your blog articles link to that full information, so that when you're intriguing them and folks are coming off of Facebook and coming off of Twitter, wherever they're Googling to and getting to your website and finding your summary information, there are call to action links to that full bits of detailed information. So it still goes back to your audience. What are they expecting, and how quickly can you get them to a sale, if that's your goal, is getting folks to a sale.
Great. And I think we pretty much answered the next question, and that was, how should a business approach and use social media? Is there anything you would add to that?
Well, there are not too many business verticals that shouldn't use social media today. Because I'm not going to ask, but I would think that most everybody has a Facebook account on their phone that's in here today. And that's not out of the ordinary. My mother's in her mid-70s and she uses Facebook. And she's a consumer. For somebody's vertical, she's a consumer. So she can hit those Facebook ads. So there are not too many, whether you're comfortable out there or not, there are not too many industries that should not at least be dabbling into the social communities. But you have to do it right. Don't just go out and boost a post on Facebook just for the heck of it. Make sure there's a campaign behind it, a strategy behind it.
And I think the answer to this question might be obvious, but I'll ask it anyway. What is the end goal of leveraging social media in business?
It depends on your type of business.
Your industry, your business. What do you want the outcome to be? That's really the question. What do you expect the outcome to be? Obviously, if you're a restaurant and you want to, announce, a special that you're going to do, great way to go, social media, right? But if you're a politician and you want somebody to vote for you, that might be a different message. So, I think crafting the message in a thoughtful way again, and connecting with the audience that you feel is right for you is the right way to go. And sometimes, again, go to outsourcing. If you're not feeling comfortable with it, go to an expert. Go to a marketing person who's an expert at strategy that can help you craft that message and build that link, that thoughtful link that would effectively go back to your webpage, that would effectively come and have that call to action. And hopefully you'll get the outcome that you're looking for. I apologize. I'm a little hoarse because I got a cold, so I apologize for that.
Both of these gentlemen have just mentioned a word that most people forget, and to me it's stunning. I review websites all day, every day. And there's 2 pieces of information that are constantly left off of websites. And I know you guys see it all the time. It's the answer to why should I give a crap about what's written here? There's no value proposition listed on the website. And the biggest thing of all behind that is there's no call to action. They don't ask anybody to do anything. There ought to be a call to action in almost, when there's some exceptions, almost every single page of the website. As soon as you give somebody the information that they were looking for, you want to make darn sure that they have the ability to find you and make contact with you immediately. And not have to hunt all over the website to find out how to do that. So, yeah, calls to action are just critical.
Yes.
I think it's, Keith, you mentioned, using the ads. Now, we have pages, you have your personal Facebook, then you have pages. Now, on your page is where you want to do your boost, correct? And then you have your ads. What's the difference in, I guess it's the money, what's the difference in the ad and a boost?
All right, this can get a little complex. And I'm going to give you today's answer because it may change next week. I mean, we know how often platforms like Facebook change. Okay, if you're running a business, you should always have a Facebook business page.
Right.
Don't try to run your promotions too much off of your personal page. There's nothing wrong with sharing a link or two off of your business page to your personal page. Otherwise, you'll start losing friends. Okay. So the next thing is when you build out your business page, you have to know that not everyone is going to see what you put on your page. There are not many people that go out hunting down a Facebook business page and go look at everything that's on it. If people are doing that, they're probably pretty bored. Or they're researching for a reason. Maybe they're researching your company and they go through and look. So how they see your post from your business page is when it runs through their timeline. So when they're checking out Facebook and looking to see what their wife or husband's doing right now, and that post from your business page runs through here, then they'll see it and they'll see what's going on. So you only have them for a second, so it has to be catchy. It can't be long. It has to be some photo that's attractive or some video like these guys are doing. Something that's really attractive to catch their attention. Now, you asked about boosting posts. If you understand how Facebook ads work and actually building ads and building campaigns on Facebook, do that. Don't boost posts. First of all, Facebook's having issues this last 6 months or so where auditors are running through Facebook right now, where all the numbers that are in there, which are the ads you're paying for, are inaccurate. By the hundreds, they're inaccurate right now. Okay, so that's one reason. The second reason is when you boost, because it's easier than building out your ad campaign, it's more expensive, so the clicks cost you more. So go and build. It's really not that difficult. You can go up on the, I think it's the top right of your page and create an ad and walk through the process. Give yourself 10 minutes, create the art, do whatever you have to do that fits into your message, and build your ad that way. And then lay out your target audience and how much you're going to spend in a day. But if you are going to run ads on Facebook, do them that way.
So you don't recommend the boost?
No, we don't. We don't boost for us, and we don't boost for our clients. It's too expensive.
Yeah, it is.
And it's inaccurate, so you don't know who actually sees the post. Now, the other thing, quick warning there, make sure your audience is on Facebook before you start spending money on Facebook. You may get a lot of clicks, but if you're not making money off of it, you need to know that in the first couple of days and stop spending money on
So
it.
how do you know that?
Whether you're making money or not.
Oh, okay.
So your call
Do
to
a promotion,
action,
like
your
a Facebook
click-through,
promotion.
Another comparison between building the campaign and doing the boost. Usually your boost go to your Facebook page. Well, I don't care about keeping people on Facebook. I want to get people to my website.
Right.
So when you build a campaign, your call to actions to a landing page on your website, and then you have your whole message, and you have everything else, your shopping cart or whatever. You told me earlier what you did, so I know you're in that business of selling your jewelry. So your whole shopping cart's on your website. So you want to get people to your website. So make sure your call to action's there.
Okay, one more question. And how do you feel with connecting your PayPal to your business page on Facebook? I've done that. I've connected my PayPal account to my business page, so I'm gonna put things on my business page, so they can actually buy from off the business page, from Facebook.
Opens up a whole lot more questions.
Okay.
The first one is, you're only going to get exposure to people on Facebook. All right.
Okay.
Compare a number, 1,000 people, as opposed to the number of people that use Google and even Bing in Hampton Roads. Huge audience
Can
there.
I make a suggestion? I would absolutely not consider trying to conduct your business orders through your Facebook page. You want to get them to your website. And this way you can check conversion. You can actually get Google Analytics about who's coming to your page, and you know, there's a lot of powerful information behind that. That's exactly where you want your client to end up, is at your website that you own, that can be secure and controlled, and that's exactly where you want to stay. Don't try to go outside of that. Stay very focused on that lane. Disconnect. Absolutely don't put your PayPal link there. It could be very vulnerable. Okay.
Not to mention your competition's ads are running on your Facebook page.
But that's another thing.
Right.
And I would just add to that, think about it from the consumer perspective. You know, a business looks more legitimate if it's running on their actual web page versus a Facebook page. I'm gonna buy from someone's actual website than I would from their Facebook page.
Quite frankly, if you don't have a website connected to it, it doesn't look legitimate,
Right.
because it's a matter of expectation.
And I love how we segue into our next question.
Appreciate it.
And that is, isn't social media about being social and engaging? How would a small business or entrepreneur leverage social media from a business perspective and avoid too much selling or marketing? And what does that look like?
Think branding. Think branding your company, branding your face, branding your logo, getting people to know what your logo looks like, even if they don't know what you do. Example, these guys were running, what platform we run right? Instagram.
Facebook.
And Facebook Live. Okay, so there's no selling going on right here for our company, but it's exposure. There's exposure out there, and we talked about things running through timelines. So I don't know how many people, a couple thousand people may see this running through their timeline, and they're probably not going to click on it and go to our website. But next time they need assistance with marketing or advertising or anything in the world that we live in, they're going to think about us because they saw us. So I think exposure, getting your brand out, however you can do that in a friendly manner, in a friendly manner, that's close enough, is the right thing to do.
Just to piggyback on that, it's really about marketing your brand as opposed to trying to market yourself, you know, when it comes to your business, right? So you really want to try to get your brand out there. You know, I'm tickled when I go out in the community and I see so many of my other friends and business colleagues, and I haven't seen them for a while, and they look at me and they shake their head and they're like, "Martin, I just don't know what you're doing." He says, "But it just seems like everywhere I go, I can't help but, you know, see your logo somewhere, and that makes me feel great." You know, I mean, that makes me know that I'm winning. You know, so whether they're driving down 264 and they see my sign on the building, or you know, whether it's a magazine they pick up and they see my logo there, hey, you know, that's part of the game of business, right? And you know, I want to be top of mind when it comes to people, you know, having IT needs in this community. And so anyway, that's part of the process.
Yeah, that's tough. That's long-term thinking. It's long-range planning. Branding is hard because not everybody has the budget for branding. But you have to sneak it in because you have to think, yeah, I need to sell this month and next month, but I need to sell the same time next year and the year after. So that's where branding comes in.
I want to make an example, and I'm going to prove beyond any shadow of a doubt that I am not an artist. No question about it. Anybody recognize that kind of, sort of? How many of you would say this is a brand? It isn't. It's a brand symbol. Martin perfectly used the word logo just a second ago. Yours is very recognizable. It's been around a long time. This is a symbol behind an idea, and the brand is an idea, not a thing. And your brand can shift every day. It is, you can make it, as soon as you release what you've created to the public, it's not what you think it is anymore, it's what they think it is. Now, what we do, the guys on the panel have a great deal of influence on the way that people think about our organizations. And so does this. But when you see the symbol, what do you really think of? You don't really think of the swoosh. What do you think of?
Shoes. Shoes.
Yeah, yeah, they have, of course, it's really nice when you have a multi-million-dollar ad campaign behind your symbol. But that's what a brand really is. It's whatever anybody thinks of your company. They've done a beautiful job, and so has JASE, about what people think about them. But you're only as good as the last time you deliver something to your clients, and if it's not worth a darn, if somebody answers a phone in one of your offices and they're nasty to a client, and I know that they're not, but it does happen. You call, we've all called a company and got somebody who's having a bad day on the line. It's immediately transferred to your product or your service. So that's the brand. So yeah, we're very protective over the things that we do, and rightfully so, because that's what people think about it. So the symbols, yeah, Martin's 360. That's very recognizable, and that logo, that's really good. So is JASE. See the same thing over and over and over and over again. Very, very important. So you can have a lot of influence on your brand by everything that you do.
Next question. In your experience, how does a business build solid long-term relationships using social media?
Be a nice person. Part of it does come down to that. Don't piss people off. I think consistency. Probably continuing to grow your network organically. Let it grow. Don't go buy friends. That happens a lot. We started working with a client about 3 or 4 years ago, and the very first thing in the very first meeting he told us was, well, we have 4,000 Facebook friends. Okay, but how much money are you making?
Yeah.
So we got into it, and a couple months later, I got a report from one of the guys, and he said, remember that comment he made about those 4,000 friends? 3,800 of them were from out of the country. A local insurance. So, wow. Yeah, exactly. So back to organically, grow your network organically. It'll take a while, but that's okay. That means just like with anything else in real life, you know, your friends are your friends, and a lot of times they're there for life, and they're loyal to you, and that whole word of mouth marketing thing. Well, word of the social community is the exact same way. We were sharing stories earlier about how indirectly we get leads off of social media. You know, you're not going to work a deal right there on Twitter, but you're going to get referrals and you're going to get people to call just based on, you know, being a nice guy and maybe even showing some of the work that you do for some clients, especially, you know, if you're selling great products or if your services are dynamite or your prices are good. You want to let people know that without upsetting them. But
So, to that point, how many of you have friends on Facebook that post stupid crap all the time? Okay, so that's a great example of what not to do. You know, if you are in charge of trying to drive traffic to your business, and you know, you definitely want to be respectful, be recognized, but do it in a respectful way that you're not out there constantly bombarding, you know, your channel, right? I went to a conference in Orlando about 3 weeks ago, and has anybody in the room ever heard of Sean Stevenson? Sean Stevenson's awesome. So Sean wasn't supposed to live beyond his first 48 hours of life. He was born with brittle bone disease, and Sean is a pretty tiny guy, and he's been in a wheelchair all his life, and he's now a PhD in psychology, and one of the most inspiring guys you'd ever meet. And so I love Sean because he talks about building your own network, right? He thinks that everybody has the ability for themselves to be their own network, like NBC or CBS or Fox or what have you. And the energy that this guy has that he imparts to the room is infectious. And so with that, you know, being your own network, you know, we have outlets like Facebook and LinkedIn. You know, LinkedIn is actually, I find, extremely effective for my business. And, you know, I post a blog out on Facebook or LinkedIn regularly, and, you know, we get a tremendous amount of conversion, you know, because of my blog post, and it's coming and being linked back to my website, and the feedback, and I'm getting feedback from my group of people that I'm connected in with the LinkedIn network, and I'm seeing that they're liking it, they're making comments about it, and so you're being effective when you're reaching your audience and they're actually responding to you in that way. And so, think about it as a business person. LinkedIn is actually the channel for you to consider, promoting not only yourself as an individual, if you want to be putting yourself in the job market, but LinkedIn can be a very effective tool as a business. And if you want to be a thought leader in your particular industry, it's a great way to be able to put that message out there.
If you get on LinkedIn, by the way, and get into a discussion, never argue with anybody. Like Mark Twain said it best, I never argue with a fool, onlookers would not know the difference. Don't get into an argument with anybody online, it just makes you look bad.
Good advice.
All right.
Or just befriend them.
Effective web strategies. I am an entrepreneur. What is the first step I should take to an effective web strategy?
Marketing plan. Gotta know your audience. Too many times we run into conversations with clients where they have ideas before we come into the room about how they want to lay out their strategy on the internet. And it fits them to a T. But most of them are not who they're selling to. And most of the time their personalities are not the same as their customer or their target audience or whatever your goal is, whether it's to, increase membership or sign-ups or whatever your goal is on your website. So I think that's the most important point.
And then once you have that, the other part is really critical. You can go out and, some of you've seen like this one-on-one where you can kind of design your own website, right, for like next to nothing. You know what? Guess what? If it costs next to nothing, then it's probably not going to be worth anything, right? So, there has to be a lot of very talented. There has to be a very talented individual or a talented company that knows exactly how to be able to build the site, have it connect to all the spiders and all the search engines in the correct way. There's a very specific way that a website needs to be constructed to be able to be seen by Google, right? And so that's one part is having the branding and the message and your target audience, and then the other part is actually building it and having it, so that it can be seen by the rest of the world. When they go to search on a specific phrase, hopefully your business is showing up organically in that search engine.
If you're starting up a company for the first time, find somebody like JASE Media and ask them some questions. You can't do any better than that. You're not going to figure it out on your own. Besides, it takes you forever and 10 days to figure it out. Find a professional, ask them some questions. It's like, I broke my arm. Who am I going to go see to get my arm fixed? I'm going to a specialist. Or if I have a deep cut on my face, I'm going to find a plastic surgeon somewhere. I'm not going to a chiropractor for that. God bless chiropractors, I love mine. But go find a specialist and ask them, find a professional, ask them some questions.
You've got some professionals in the building. So please ask some questions. All right. So what is the difference between a unique selling proposition and a value proposition? And can you have more than one?
Sure.
That was mine. That was a plan. I see this all the time. I hear a lot of sales trainers say everybody's got to come up with their own unique selling proposition. I think they're full of it. And here's why. Think about the word that you're using. The word is unique. What does it mean? It means nobody else has it. And I mean nobody. If you say you have a unique if you have a left-handed friend deambulator on your whatchamadoodle, And it's the only, you got the only whatchamadoodle with a left-handed defibrillator on it. You got something that's truly unique. And if it does me some good, I'm really interested in it. But if you say it's unique and it's not, they'll call you on it in a heartbeat and say, no, that's not unique. Everybody's got a guy down the street's got one just like it. On the other hand, a value proposition is almost exactly what it sounds like. And I said it a minute ago, I got almost a little off color line. Why should I give a crap? Why should I care? It's what the value is to me. Why should I own this thing? And it's the one thing that I see left off of websites more often than anything else. And if I'm repeating myself, please forgive me. When people come to a website, they want to know there's 3 questions. Where am I? What can I do here? Why should I participate? Why should I participate? It's the value proposition. And I cannot tell you how many times I go to websites and there's not one anywhere to be found. Because most people talk academically, intellectually, and factually. Doesn't sound like there could be anything wrong with that, except it's just a bunch of facts. And they haven't given me a reason to do anything, not clear. And so having those left off it's the biggest mistake I ever see. And it's a killer if you want to sell something to someone.
Go ahead, sir.
For new startups, is there still such a thing as a press release? And if so, what place does it have? How is it used? Where
Table that for a second. You had a comment.
Yeah, we'll come back
Yeah,
to that.
we'll get-
Really, you know what I love? Getting back to like the unique selling proposition. My most favorite, and I think the most popular of all time, is Domino's Pizza. We'll deliver your pizza in 30 minutes or it's free, right? And then to your point, Chandler said, and they'll call you on it, right? How many of you guys called Domino's and were like looking at that clock, and if they weren't there, and like by 30 minutes, on minute 31, you were calling them out like, I want my free pizza, right? So that was a great point to that. I think it was a really great point. But to your question about PR, I would definitely say put the press releases out there. Absolutely put it out there. You know what? So I would talk with somebody that is already connected in the PR world, that knows the outlets and knows the right people to send it to, and get it out there. I mean, there's a lot of good, absolutely JASE, would be an obvious start for that. But Inside Business Magazine, COVID Business Magazine, Virginia Pilot. Good luck if you ever get printed in that. But anyway, you know what? It's a great way to start. And like I said, be your own network and put it out there. You never know if it's going to get picked up, and it might.
PR world has changed a lot over the years with the advent or the expansion of the internet, especially on Twitter. We have a PR director and a couple of other folks on our communications teams that work. We call them press releases, whether they're online or offline, makes no difference to us. So what we do is go back to our message in the campaign that we're running, and we hit all of our platforms, across the social platforms, on our website, and then we start hitting, if it's the media core, start hitting the media core. So we issue true, old school press releases, and our press releases always run on blog platforms, which means they get to the social communities, and then blurbs, excerpts off of them with links back to the actual press release on our client's website. And then we start hitting reporters, editors, managers on Twitter. Have you seen this? Did you see that? Where back in the day, we used to pick up the phone and call all the time. Well, now they're getting 200 phone calls a day, and they might pick up 3 of them and return messages, maybe. But most of them are going to answer a call on Twitter. So whatever your today's Rolodex is, whether it's your Outlook contacts or you're keeping them in some CMS somewhere, or not CMS, but CRM, sorry, somewhere. I always say JASE Office, so we have our own CRM. But if you're keeping them in JASE Office, you keep their Twitter handles right there with the telephone number and their email addresses, because we always hit them on Twitter, always. We never do blasts to them on Twitter, to multiples, but we'll always follow up with them directly. And the other key there is just like with the media before, this hasn't changed. Make sure you're not sending out press releases to every person in your media core list. You have to know what they specialize in. Don't upset them, because next time when you need them on a certain topic, they're not going to listen to you. So the big point there is expand your media core spreadsheet to Twitter, because that's where you're going to catch them.
So what if you're not, what if your clients are not on Twitter? Like how do you get people on Twitter?
Well, in this case, the audience is the media core, the reporters, and they're all on Twitter.
Yeah.
They're all
Okay,
there.
so it's just not.
Right. So you really need to be there anyway. If you're running a business, you need to be on all the platforms. Whether you're active, on each one of them, but you need to at least have a presence and have exposure on those, which means that your network should be building over time. And if you're in the type of business like ours, that's the network we build, is with those reporters. So, we have clients down south. If we need to hit reporters on Twitter in the Atlanta area, we have them in our list, in our Twitter list, that we can go and hit them and spit them out, and we're always referencing them back to the press release that's on our client's blog.
All right. How important, and I think we've pretty much answered this question, but how important is web strategies to a business? And can you provide examples of the benefits and pitfalls?
I would say web strategy is critical. The majority of my business comes through my website, Parnell, without a shadow of doubt. We have been very intentful about the way that we built our site and the content that we put on it. We are constantly updating it with press release information, new hires, posting jobs, constantly updating. And I look at my website as being a living, breathing organism that we feed as often as we possibly can, and it converts. So when I go out to do my Google Analytics and I look up, my domain name, I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that my name comes up organically, not like a paid advertisement that you do with Google pay-per-click, but organically on a number of keyword searches. My website comes up #1 on Google, bar none, and it's because we were very emphatic about making sure that we keep our website up to date, and it works. And we have lots of people coming in for the first time, and we're asking them to fill out forms, and they're real leads. They are great leads. I feel like when a client or a prospect comes to my website, they truly understand who we are as a business. We're very upfront about who it is that we're looking for as a client. And you know what? If they feel like they meet that criterion, they're going to fill out the form, and we're going to have a brand new lead, and we can start that conversation. And I tell you, it works so well. And if there's one thing that I know is working in my business for advertising, it is absolutely our website, by far.
Yeah, I've mentioned a few times now
Yes,
your
sir.
marketing plan. Let me make this point real quick. Your marketing plan, your website, your web strategy should never be below your top level in your tiers in your marketing plan. It should be, whatever platform you're talking about, getting your message out on, your web should always be right there. I can't think of too many industries where it's not. There may be exceptions, but I can't even think of one off the top of my head. So it is a priority. It's a priority right up there with maybe radio, depending on your vertical, maybe billboards, or maybe television, or maybe one of the social platforms. It doesn't matter, but your web strategy or your website has to be right up there at the top. It's the center of your universe today, and it has to be exactly what you just said. It has to be the center of your universe. Everything you do has to point back in to your website.
I have a question.
Yeah, if you work with a company and you're kind of like you have to use their website for the product, so and it's not a living, breathing organism. So, do you have any sort of suggestions about how to move that website forward in the searches. That's one question that I have. And the second question is, you talked about being on all the platforms, Twitter and Facebook and all that. What does it mean by cross-posting and as a way of trying to get yourself found more online by referring back and forth to those things? How do you do that?
I'm going to take the first part of your question, but I'm going to defer to my colleague here for the second part. Okay?
Okay.
So, I'm not sure exactly what kind of business that you're referring to promoting, but it sounds to me like you have some involvement in selling, correct?
Yeah.
And you may not think that the platform that the company has is very effective. There may be a way that you could actually build your own site and be able to have some kind of connection to the other site. That could be potentially one way to do it. Where you're managing the content and updating it. I'm not sure if that would be in conflict with whom you're working with. The other alternative would just be to just go to the decision makers at the company and say, hey, look, you might want to consider doing this and making a change. And there are companies like JASE, and we work with a company that does that builds websites and provides all-you-can-eat services for it. And like I said, that would definitely be the way to go. And just kind of have that candid discussion. And if you need to tell them their website sucks, you just need to tell them it sucks.
They seem to push a lot of doing blogging and things so that you have other ways that you're allowed to use where you're constantly referring to your website, so that the bots are kind of finding new material and different places that you're posting the same words and same content.
Well, there's a lot of ways you can bake a cake, but I mean, they're all going to taste different, right?
SEO is a lot of work.
Yeah.
It is. SEO is a lot of consistent work, and it's not an overnight thing. And there are a lot of elements and tactics to the SEO strategy today, and content marketing is a huge part of that. Creating videos and photos and how-tos and demonstrations, and depending on what business you're in. But if they are pointing you to a blog that's attached to the website, as in the same domain, same URL, that's great. Do it. Use it. And that's where you send your contacts to that information where you can control the content. And if you're writing consistent content on your website, which includes your blog, if it's on the same domain, then you're heading the right direction. You're going the right direction. Now, if the website itself, the structure of the website, the mechanics of the website are not updated, then it is quite possible that your website's being penalized by Google and Bing. Their algorithms change constantly. Gosh, I can't remember it. 7, 8, 9 times Google changed theirs last year. I don't remember what the number is. And you have to stay on top of those, or your website not just doesn't compete with everyone, it's getting penalized and pulled off the board. So structurally, it has to be right and it has to be sound.
Is that what cross-posting has to do with, or you're constantly referencing each site, the blog?
Yeah, going back to the old term inbound marketing, inbound's the same way. That's kind of the concept of inbound marketing on the internet. You do get credit in a now not as significant way, but still significant now for the number of inbound links coming to your website. But there's a caveat to that, in that the social communities, some of them, provide no follow tags with their hyperlinks, which means you don't get credit from some communities. Facebook, you don't get credit coming back to your website on your links. Twitter, you don't, except in Bing and whoever they have their partnership with that year. So, you kind of have to keep up with that kind of thing. But all of that is part of your SEO strategy, your content marketing strategy. And cross-posting, that's not true cross-posting. Cross-posting is when you post exactly the same thing on many different platforms. You have to be a little smarter than that, because you have to know the audience on all those platforms. But what you really should be doing is posting everything on your website / blog, your domain, and then sending blurbs out to those communities to intrigue people to come and get the information on your website. And you have to know those audiences out there on what to say on those blurbs.
Okay, thank you.
brings us into the rules of technology and communication. What are the biggest mistakes you see in putting communication together, especially sales communications?
By far. So, I absolutely detest when I get an email and it's sent out to a group of 50, 100 people, and every one of those email addresses are exposed. Oh my God! I'm like, okay, now I'm going to be on another like 100 email accounts, and you know what? It is so annoying. Like that is probably the biggest gap in business communications today. Would you agree?
Yes.
It's a major gaffe. Like, if you really want to make somebody mad and piss them off, do that. It's not good. Don't do it. Make sure it's always BCC. Okay? Build your BCC list, and don't share everyone's email address. It's not good.
Along those lines too, if you're posting out information to a group of people, consider going through a certified platform to do that, like Constant Contact or MailChimp or someone like that, so that your email domain does not get blacklisted. I don't know if you guys have ever had an email domain blacklisted. You guys probably try to attempt to save a whole lot of people when that happens. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare almost to the point that you need to give up your domain that maybe you've had for 15 years now. So you don't want that to happen. So if you get reported to ISPs as in, hey, this guy sent spam too much, you'll eventually start getting blacklisted in all these databases around the internet. You don't want to do that. So if you're sending out these blasts, go through Constant Contact or MailChimp or someone like that, and make sure you're segmenting your list and you're hitting your audiences on a message that they want to hear, so that they're not unsubscribing from your list.
So I got another one. So I'm sure many of you get telemarketed all the time, right? Phone call rings. Hey, Mr. Joseph, how are you doing today? Okay. Right?
Regular.
You know what? They haven't even thought about what it is they're really going to say. Okay? You have better have your elevator pitch poised and ready to deliver. If I'm answering the phone and saying
15
hello,
seconds.
you got maybe 5, right? Maybe 5.
Maybe 5.
15 if somebody's being kind. But
Okay.
hey Keith, listen. I got something that's going to revolutionize the way you guys are doing business. So if you give me 10 seconds of your time, I'm going to show you how to do it, right? You can like either get him like in that minute right there, that final second, or he's moving on. He doesn't have time, right? ShamWow, right? But you better make sure that you're reaching the person, because they're not going to be, they may not even be in the market. You may be the last thing in their mind that they're even thinking about. But if you call them and you're saying, hey, listen, I've got an outcome for you that could make your life way better. Does that sound like something you're interested in, right? And you get a yes or no, and you just move on, all right? But be like on it. Be ready, be prepared. And then the same goes with an email. Don't send somebody some Magna Carta email and expect them to read it. You know what? The most effective email messages I'm finding today in direct response are, hey, did you happen to get the email that I sent you about this particular subject? Let me know if you're interested, right? And like, if it's 9 words or less, you'll be surprised how many people will actually respond. Like, you know what? You know, you have got like that much of a millisecond when people are going through their inbox. And to be able to reach them and get them to respond to something is huge. Keep your message very succinct. Just like Chandler was saying. You know, take that 50% and keep like shrinking it down until you got 9 words or less. And I'm telling you, you guys will be shocked to see the people that will respond. They will respond to you. And, you know, it's either yes or no or maybe, right? And just be respectful of their time.
I was trained to do this, and I had somebody do it to me, and I went, oh my God, I don't believe it. I was trained years ago when making business cold calls, when I had to make an awful lot of them, to tell the person who answered the phone right up front immediately, this is a business cold call. You have 10 or 15 seconds. I had somebody do that about 6 weeks ago, and I listened to every single word she said because I knew she'd been trained properly. And not, how you doing? Boom, same, that's the same reaction. Nope. Or in this case, nope. This is an interesting question. I'm going to take it and answer it from a slightly different perspective. What are the biggest mistakes you see in putting communications together? Wrong focus. Most information that businesses put out is inwardly focused on who you are, what you do. I don't care what you do. I care how it's going to affect me. And so if you approach it slightly differently and let people know how you can help them, Martin, you said it just a second ago. If I can show you a different outcome on X, is that okay? If I'm interested in X, I'm going to listen. If I'm not, no thank you, and that's the end of it. But make sure if you're sending communications out, you're not telling them what you do, you're telling them why they should pay attention to you.
What is the best approach to having meaningful conversations for business?
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
What is the best approach to having meaningful conversations for business?
I'll tie that one into what we were just talking about with the previous question. The world has changed. And social communities has done this to us, and it's fully entrenched into the business world today. There are not too many industries where cold calling is going to work anymore. We call it in our business control communications, as in shooting emails out and folks can scan it, come back and read it when they want to, and then answer when they need to. Control communication, as in don't call me in the middle of my busy day with a sales call, because I'm not going to talk to you. But shoot me a tweet, shoot me something on LinkedIn, a message there. I can come back and get to it, and I can give it the attention that needs and it deserves to give you an answer on your question. So, how effective can that be? It can be effective if you're out living in the world where your clientele lives, of whatever industry they're in. If you're out at a BizConnect meeting, or you're out at a chamber meeting, or you're on Facebook, or you're doing whatever and talking about your business, not really selling or promoting, but just talking about your business or showing your brand out in public, you're going to generate more business over time in today's world in 2017 than any cold calling you're going to do. Now, there's a disclaimer to that. Not all industries are the same. So there may be some industries where cold calling works. Government industries, selling supplies to government contractors, you have to get on the phone and call those folks. They don't have easy access to the technology that we have every day out here. So there are some exceptions to that, but don't undervalue getting out into the community, both face-to-face and out in social communities, and let people know who you are. They need to be able to recognize you out in public. And then when they need your service, they'll come to you because they know who you are.
So, let me wrap up real quick. So, Keith and I had a really meaningful business conversation prior to this panel today. And it was just something simple as me saying, Keith's asking him a question, hey, what are some of the biggest challenges that you're facing right now, right? I mean, that really, from one entrepreneur to another, like that's really kind of hitting right to the heart of something meaningful. And you know what? This guy's got something that's going to keep him up at night, something that's really bothering him, something that's kind of been a stopgap in the road, or could be a speed bump in the road that he needs to get out of the way. And that could be his biggest challenge, you know? And, you know, from one entrepreneur to another, if he earnestly and honestly shared that with me, I might be able to say, hey, you know what? I had a similar experience, and this is what I did about it, and this is what the outcome was. Don't you think that, you know, I'm building a stronger business relationship with him and having a meaningful conversation? That's really connecting. That's really connecting. So, you know, when you're walking a room and you're an entrepreneur, don't be afraid to walk up to somebody else and say, hey, I'm so-and-so, and, you know, I know a little bit about your company, and you know, be honest about it. Make sure you know a little bit about who you're approaching, and then start that conversation. And then maybe you can ask them, hey, what are some of the biggest challenges you guys are facing right now, right? And then start that conversation. It's a great communication starter. It really is.
If you're in charge of sales for your company and you walk into a room like Martin was just describing, stop making presentations and start asking questions. It's just that simple. Don't focus on who you are, focus on the person that you're trying to meet. You can be disingenuous with that for sure, and I've seen that happen too. But don't make a presentation. Ask a question.
And if you really want to waste business cards, do this. Hi. Hi, Martin. How are you? Right? That's a great way to waste business cards, because I guarantee you that goes in this pocket and in the trash cans later. Make a connection with somebody. Okay? Yes, sir.
Guess anybody can answer this question. I have a lady, we have never done business with each other. All we've had was just phone conversations since last year. And one time she sent me a contract, didn't get signed, went all back. But like once or twice a month she'll call and she's like, Mario, look, still want to do this nice size commercial. We're still talking about it. And then she'll just ramble on for like 10 minutes. And like once or twice a month, nothing's ever happened at all. Yeah. And so, you know, like a piece of me is kind of like, don't call me anymore, you know, stop. But then every now and then, I'll call her just to keep like a communication line open to say, you never know. And I like what she's trying to do. I believe in what she's doing. And so, I guess the advice am I asking it, am I wrong to kind of feel like, leave me alone? But then sometimes I'm kind of, I guess, double guessing myself. I said, I should just call her. I'll call her. And it's funny because this week she calls me and like,
crazy lady.
We're drawing up a contract for something, but it's going to be in April. I'm not getting my hopes up. But is that, I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Am I wrong for just,
you know, I would tell you how I would handle it. There's an old adage that says poop or get off the pot. You know what? You know, I would just really be blunt with her and say, hey, listen, you know, I'd love to work with you, but in order for us to get started, I need you to do X. And just kind of draw the line,
right.
And just say, hey, look, you know, I would love to do that commercial for you, but in order to get started, I need you to do this, and you know, it could be deposit and signing this agreement, and then you guys can move forward, but just, you know, be blunt with it.
Right. Okay.
I started talking to somebody about 18 months ago, and they were referred to me, young fellow in his 20s, by his father, who was a close high school buddy of mine, who's up in Richmond, and they wanted to get some web work done. And I would talk, go silent, talk, go silent, talk, go silent. I'm like, you know, when are we ever going to do anything? Well, finally, this kid rose up through the ranks in this corporation, and I had seen where they exist on the web. 7 states, about 12 different offices. It's a regional company. And again, we didn't meet for a while. I'm going, should I bother? You know, once in a while he'd send me an email, ask me a question, I'd answer it politely. So finally, this kid's risen up through the ranks of this organization. Now getting the web done is in his hands. Right. And I met with him in Virginia Beach about 9 weeks ago. You know, should you keep on or should you let it go? And I was starting to think the same thing. That's a real catch-22 that we deal with. Should I tell him to? Or get off the pot, or you know, should we? Sometimes I ask people, should I close your file? And we need to know whether they're really serious or not. This company, when they found out that he's now the right person is in the right position, and he has some authority to make these decisions work. They have 47 offices in 42 states, and last year's sales were $354 million. You never know who you're talking to.
Yeah, it's hard to say from the outside. Knowing your situation, knowing their situation, there may be reasons for it on both sides. You know, it's hard to give a generic answer and say, I guess at some point you have to start counting red flags, maybe. And maybe it's just that you back off your efforts and spend it in other areas, but don't close the door, because maybe one day, but you still have to evaluate for yourself even if I land that client, is that a sign of things to come? Right. you have to figure that out.
That's a really, really good point. Do you back off a little bit and save some time? Probably. But do you shut the door? Probably not. You don't know what that person is thinking. If I'm trying to call on Martin, and Martin's incredibly busy, but he indicates that he's got some interest in what I do, whatever that happens to be, doesn't matter. I may have to ping him 8-10 times. And he's going to go tell me, go away. And if he hadn't told me to go away yet, and I will tell people, if I'm not interested, go away. I'm really not interested. Most salespeople, by the way, want to know that. We don't want to hear maybe, we want to hear yes or no.
Yeah.
But if there's a legitimate reason that somebody is swamped and just can't quite get to that, don't close the door. Keep it open a little bit.